monster in your ears, boy.
It's what you harder at the ice out the neck. It's what you harder at the ice out the neck. When I'm in my zone, bitch, I get my respect. Call me Bumpy Johnson.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Texas Sports World. We are your hosts. I'm Ethan, that is Isaac, and we have some stuff to get into today. But first of all, how are you doing today, brother?
I'm having a good time. We're living. A lot of stuff that we got to get into. Camera's still not focused. Hello. Back at it. Crack at it.
Back
Good
at it like
morning.
a crack addict. Good
There we
morning,
go.
good night, good afternoon.
Does this look like it's all in my face? It feels like it's all in my face.
I mean,
That's better.
you barely
That's
moved
better.
it.
I don't want
Anyways,
to deal with it.
so today we're going to have to discuss your man, your boy, Dameon Pierce.
Oh, don't even worry about it, baby. I'm ready for that topic of conversation. Let's get into this first. Nick Chubb,
Nick Chubb.
officially
Here
a
we go.
Houston Texan. Officially a Houston Texan. Signed today, passed his physical. A lot of people think he's in that RB2 spot off rip. And I hate to break it to you, I got some interesting points and things that might convince you otherwise here today.
Okay. So yeah, Nick Chubb signs a 1-year, $2.5 million deal, escalates to $5 million with incentives, and it kind of brings a lot of questions into kind of what this offense is going to look like. Now, to start, Nick Chubb kind of fits the mold of what I think Nick Haley is going to try to do, because I saw something posted the other day that when Nick Haley was brought over to the Rams from New England, it was to get away from the zone scheme and more into the man blocking scheme in the run game. They went from like 17% man run to like 48% man run in the whenever he got brought over to that team. It was described as he was the kind of mesh. He kind of helped everything mesh together and kind of ease the transition between one and the other, which is kind of it was a good thing to hear for me, because it's interesting to note that that's kind of the transition we're trying to make a transition from the zone to a man scheme. And I think if he was able to do that with such a such a high clip that LA was able to do, I think that could really help out. And I think Nick Chubb fits that. But on the same token, I kind of think Dameon Pierce does too. And I'm not completely sold on Nick Chubb just yet. Now, I posted his stats pre-injury on the Twitter, and he rushed for over 1,000 yards every year coming into the league. And then 1 year I think his rookie year, he got 4 yards away. It's like 996, and then he had the knee injury and the foot injury. So that kind of derailed everything. So it's definitely because at this point it's kind of between DP and Dare, in my opinion, on kind of what move happens in the running back room.
I agree, but I'll say this. First and foremost, I'm not mad at the signing. I think if you can get Nick Chubb and get if he can even be if
we can get
40 or 50%, not even that. If he can just get a percentage of what he was before the injury, it's a good deal. For $5 million, that's a good deal. Obviously, we keep doing the Browns super dirty, and I don't know how they let him get to us. If $5 million was his asking price, I'd have paid that a long time ago. If I was the Browns. But
and it's really only 2.5, and so like if you're the Browns, you're not willing. If you're the Browns, you're not willing to up it to 3 with 6 for incentives or something like that. That's mismanagement. But the same team that drafted 2 quarterbacks, like what?
So here's what I'll say. I think we're banking on a what could be, or a kind of hypothetical when it comes around Nick Chubb specifically. I think he was a great running back. I think this is more of we want Nick Chubb and Joe Mixon to be our 1 and 2 though. I think this is there's a few ways I could go about this. My initial thought was that's weird. I guess Dameon Pierce is the running back 3. But now I'm kind of looking at it as, how hurt is Mixon? Because a running back room with no Mixon and Dare, DP, and Woody Marks is not great. But you put Nick Chubb in there as that RB1, now we're looking at something. So how serious is
Right. At this
Joe
point, you're
Mixon's
playing.
injured.
Right. At this point, if Joe Mixon, isn't hurt and he's able to play, you're playing with house money.
Mm-hmm.
Because I saw you kind of getting into a discussion on the Twitter with some people in the Texans Twitter, kind of about what the pros and cons of a DP versus a Derek Gumbawale kind of is. Because to me, it's more of a conversation about the versatility of DP. I mean, the versatility of Derek Gumbawale, because Dare could be your kicker in emergencies. We saw that. Now, obviously, that was kind of weird, and I don't think that's not a reason to keep somebody. That's you don't keep a running back to be your kicker. That's kind of stupid.
To be your
You know what I-
backup kicker.
Yeah, you don't do that. But
Yeah.
but then he was on the punt team, kickoff return team. He was a good special teams guy. He's always been a special teams guy. But I would
Here's my counter argument to that. Woody Marks is our versatile back now. Maybe Dare still has that spot over him, but he's going to be our pass catching back. That's what we drafted him for. So that kind of role for Dare kind of gets X'd out.
Okay.
When you want to talk about special teams,
Woody Marks,
Dameon Pierce averages 40 yards per return on kick returns. Dare's not doing that. So he's much better as a special teams. And we already have enough special teams aces. Like, our special teams has never been an issue. We don't need Dare in special teams to be a good special. Like, we are a top special teams unit in all of football. So we're not hurting there.
So let me ask you this. Does the Woody Marks draft pick, because I was under the impression that the Woody Marks thing kind of already spelled the end of Derek Gumbawale. That's kind of what I
thought so too. I thought so too.
Because they kind of could do the same thing. They're the same kind of player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you could argue Woody Marks is, you have a little bit more invested in him as a draft pick. He's a lot younger. The list goes on there. So you have a lot more invested in that. And maybe, I'm not sure Dare would really be on any other roster in the league as the number 2 or 3 running back.
I
You know what I mean?
don't think he is a RB3 anywhere else besides here, and that's only because he was a good backup kicker. But you don't keep a backup kicker and running. I want to get into this. This is what I want to get into. Hold on, give me 2 seconds. I got it screenshotted.
Make sure you get your drinks tonight, folks.
First and foremost, I just want to say this on the topic of Dameon Pierce. I think Dameon Pierce is still running back 2, and I think he still can be running back 2 because listen to this: 2022 Dameon Pierce. That's the year he gets drafted. He goes for 220 attempts, 939 yards, 4.3 yards per carry. Pretty good.
Yep.
Then Bobby Slowick comes in. CJ Stroud gets drafted. He goes for 145 attempts, 416 yards, 2.9 yards per carry. Definitely a drop off, but damn near half carry. Split his carries in half. That's the year Singletary was on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Then you see the drop off from that to this year. Now, this year, arguably, he was very productive. He went for 40 attempts, 293 yards, 7.3 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. So compare that to, first off, on 40 attempts, that's 40 touches. Nick Chubb went for last year 102 attempts, 332 yards, 3.3 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. So realistically speaking, if you want to talk about efficiency, Dameon Pierce is the more efficient runner. And statistically, he was a little bit better than Nick Chubb was last year on 70 less attempts or something like that, or almost 100 less attempts. So that's my whole issue, is the fact that, can we argue that Dameon Pierce is finding himself without a spot on this team? Yeah, you could, but I'm not buying that. Dameon Pierce is still a good running back. I think he could still be running back 2. I don't think if you give him in Nick Caley's offense 100 touches, I think you'd be pleasantly surprised with how well Dameon Pierce runs the ball. But they X'd him out of the offense completely last year, damn near. This is another very interesting thing that I saw on Dameon Pierce when I was just looking through the numbers. Indianapolis, week 1, he had 3 carries for 16 yards, 5.3 yards per carry. Pretty good, right?
Yeah, small sample size.
Next week, 8 carries for 76 yards, 9.5 yards per carry, 1 touchdown against New England. Really good, right? The following 6 weeks, he combined for a total of 4 carries in 6 weeks after coming off 76.
So the question is, but I think the thing that's being untalked about or not being talked about is kind of like what we've been talking about this whole offseason is a lot of the problems came from Bobby. So, you know, this kind of goes to the hard-headedness that people have been talking about, the difference between Popovich and that kind and Strasser and Bobby, those three guys, or not Popovich, but you know, the hard-headedness on that side of the ball could mean because you just laid it out there, his numbers when he played, if he would have gotten consistent, because I think we all knew when Mixon came in, his carries were gonna go down because
Mixon had over 300 carries last year as an aging running back. We have two guys in Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb, both pushing 30, probably towards the tail end of their careers, and you're going to bank on that to be your Super Bowl pushing running back duo?
Right.
Both
right.
injury, like you can't tell me. Here's the thing. Another argument that I see on Twitter a lot with Dameon Pierce. Go ahead. My bad.
Well, no, you're good. I was just real quick. Just to another point to Nick Caley, New England did a 3 running back system. They did it well. So if Nick Caley's going to try to implement a 3 running back system, then give me Dameon Pierce, give me Nick Chubb, and give me Joe Mixon.
And you have to imagine, a lot of people say Dameon Pierce is injury prone. That's the stupidest argument I've ever heard because the two guys that we have starting ahead of him right now are both injury prone.
Injury prone, yes.
Not only that, but Saquon Barkley, the best running back in the league last year, was considered injury prone when he was in New York. Not only that, Christian McCaffrey, another one of the NFL's best running backs, was considered injury prone. So injury prone is a weak argument when it comes to running backs.
Because the running back is a hard, but you're getting hit by arguably 6 or 7 guys every single time you touch the ball, and a lot of those guys are 320 pounds, or or you're getting rolled up on, you're getting in a pile, you know what I mean? So like, there's a lot of, so yes, I would agree that the injury prone argument is a bad one because ultimately it's a position where injuries are gonna happen. I mean, it's one thing like a receiver. I feel like a receiver being injury prone is more of a negative than a running back being injury prone because as a receiver, there's not a lot of you could manipulate tackles in such a way where you're not going to get hit that often or hard.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And running backs you just can't. And I think that's why Dameon Pierce would be. And I was kind of this offseason saying we probably should move on from Dameon Pierce, but with the addition of Nick Chubb, it doesn't give me much confidence to move on from him just because I'm not sure that Mixon or Chubb is going to be able to play a full 17-game season. Plus,
not only that, but Nick Chubb, the Nick Chubb signing, we're buying into a guy who once was what he was, and we're hoping that he can get some of that back.
Hoping and praying yet again.
But I think this is more of a insurance pickup than anything because that Joe Mixon just came off a 300-yard carry season. That's a lot for somebody at his age and at his position. So you want to be able to split that up between a few different guys. And they just weren't doing that with Dameon Pierce last year. I don't know why. The stats say that he, when given the opportunity, actually ran pretty well, contrary to what the eye test says. And, so you bring Nick Chubb in, that's fine. But I think that's more so how hurt is Joe Mixon? Or if Joe Mixon gets hurt, now we have somebody that isn't Dameon Pierce that doesn't have to take all those carries. Right. It's a much better situation to be in when Joe Mixon goes down to have Nick Chubb and Dameon Pierce to rely on than when Joe Mixon goes down and to have Dameon Pierce and Dare Agumbawale to rely on.
And Woody Marks.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So I think that's what it is. And I genuinely believe Dameon Pierce still has a very good shot at that running back 2 position, especially with the new offensive scheme that he's in. And I don't think him and Nick Chubb are vastly different runners. I think they like to play.
They're generally the same.
A bit of the same.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a bit of an investment piece too. Like a good running back in Nick Chubb who runs a lot like Dameon Pierce, maybe because he hasn't had really a good stylistic matchup mentor in Devin Singletary and Joe Mixon.
That's true. I think another thing is the offensive line and its ability, to create holes for these guys. Because arguably, Dameon Pierce did have those solid games where he ran for over 70 or over 60 on small amounts of carries, or the average was good, And if you could have got, because running back is definitely a position where you got to get carries to get going. You're not just gonna walk in and rush for 150 yards. Your first rush is gonna be
on 3
8.
carries.
No.
And that's what's crazy is realistically, on almost 300 yards on 40 attempts is actually that's pretty good considering, a bulk of those carries came in the Tennessee game where he went up for 176 yards, mind you, almost 2 bills. I don't care. I don't care if it's Tennessee. I don't care if they had their starters out. An NFL running back rushing for almost 2 bills, that's good. You're good.
That's impressive. You're a good running
Not
back.
everybody's doing that. But for the most part, 19 carries in that game alone. His second highest carry game was 8 carries, and that was against New England.
What was his carries in the Tennessee game?
19 carries, 176 yards, 9.3 yards.
So 19 carries in the Tennessee game, 8 carries in
New England.
In New England game. What was his third highest?
Baltimore, 5 carries.
And what was his stat line in that game?
5 carries, 13 yards.
So
that was the Christmas game, 31-2.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that, but the point is that kind of proves he needs a minute to get going. He's not going to get going off of 3 carries, 5 carries. Let him get closer. It shows that once he gets up to 10, 8 to 20 carries, that range right there, he was starting to get going, and we never gave him an opportunity to do so.
The jump from, you give him 3 carries, he goes for 6. The majority of this is just bad. Like, he 1 touch, 2 touches, 3 touches, 1 touch. Like, you're not going to ever get going off of that. You're never going to look like a good running back off of 1 carry. And, at 8 carries, he went for 76, 19, 176. You give him damn near 10 more carries, he gives you 100 more yards. Like, think about that. That's insane value.
Yeah. And it would be, because I've never really understood the Daragumbawale,
hype.
Like, I've never, because the way I look at it, when I look at these rosters in the NFL, when you go roster for teams, you're like, looking at the Texans, to determine whether the player is either good or worthy, maybe it's kind of the wrong word, but would this player on our team either be on a 2 deep or start on any other team?
I think Dameon Pierce is a running back 2 minimum anywhere
else. Anywhere else. And I think us as Texans fans have been blinded by the Bobby Slowick thing. Because we saw what he did in his first year in a regular offense, and like a regular man scheme offense. We saw what he could do. He almost went for a thigh wow.
One of the best young running backs in the entire league. And you look at that.
So he almost went for a thigh wow, just like Nick Chubb did in his rookie year.
And then guess what you don't do? Like the thing is I understood you come off that rookie year, then the year 2, new scheme, but you still cut his carries almost completely in half from that.
So
from year 1 to year 2. Better? Right. And then the year after that, you damn near cut it by 100 carries. Like, you want to talk about Dameon Pierce isn't good. He doesn't have the opportunity to show that he's good. Oh, y'all saw a couple preseason games where he couldn't get going and he sucked on them. Like, and then 40 yards average on kickoff returns. Let him go. If I'm a Dameon Pierce fan, and my opinion is this: if you're gonna make him your RB3, let him go, so I can go and enjoy some Dameon Pierce football, because that's what I want to do. I want to go see him play. So let him go, so I can go watch him play somewhere else.
Yeah,
especially if you're banking on Nick Chubb and Joe Mixon.
Like we said earlier, a running back room with Mixon, Chubb, Pierce, and Woody Marks, I can roll with that. I can rock with that. Because I don't think that the running back room will be 1, 2, 3. I think it's going to be 1, 2A, and 2B. Because okay. I don't think Joe Mixon's going to get 300 carries again this year, and I don't think that Dameon Pierce is going to have less than 120. Because if you could split it up evenly, you're preserving your running backs, because we know Joe Mixon is a baller. We know that he can play running back good. Like, we know that he can do what he's got to do. It's not It's not a question of is Joe Mixon good. It's a question of can he stay healthy. We know that when Nick Chubb is healthy, he can be good. It's a question of can he stay healthy.
Or can he at
So
least get some of what he once was back?
can he recapture a little bit of what he had? Like I said, if we can split the running back room up with like Mixon goes for I don't know 800 to 1,000, somewhere around there.
I think of all three of them.
Chubb goes for 500 to 600, and then DP can go for 500 to 600. You know, you split the care. Maybe Joe gets 220 to 230. Chubb gets 150 to 160, and then DP gets 130 to 140.
I don't think he'll get that many. I think he'll. I think, man, I think we're going to start the season off with Nick Chubb and Joe Mixon as the ones and twos, obviously. Yeah. And then I don't want to bank on it, but injury prone guys and the Houston Texans injury prone team doesn't ever really mesh well.
Yeah. And speaking of injury prone, tomorrow starts the mandatory OTAs when everybody has to show up. For the
Boy,
Texans.
you want to talk about somebody with a fire under their ass? Go watch it. He didn't show up to OTAs, voluntary OTAs. I would like to see Dameon Pierce. I can't wait. I just can't wait.
Well, tomorrow if he doesn't, if tomorrow he shows up and practices, then we're gonna know that he really just took the voluntary thing literal and just decided I'm gonna give me another weekend, which is I wouldn't have done it, but like that's your right to do because it's voluntary. So like I can't really hold that against you, you know. But like same thing goes for CJ. If CJ was there, but if CJ starts throwing the ball around a little bit tomorrow, then we'll kind of okay. Then maybe he just needed whatever. Fine, I can excuse the not throwing thing. So, tomorrow we're gonna have a lot of questions answered about, because tomorrow you're gonna have the Daniil Hunters, you're gonna have the C.J. Gardner-Johnsons, you're gonna have the Dalton Schultz, you're gonna have the Brevin Jordans, you're gonna have the Joe Mixon. Hopefully, if he can practice, because I saw a picture today, he's not in a boot anymore. He's walking fine. So did he kind of take the voluntary thing literal and decide to just not do it? Again, I can't hold that against you. It's voluntary.
My thing is this: the Nick Chubb thing doesn't make sense unless Joe Mixon being healthy. That's why you sign Woody Marks. That's why you draft him, right? The Nick Chubb thing just scares me for Joe Mixon because I feel like maybe the boot thing might be a little bit more nagging injury.
Maybe. I don't. I can see where you're coming from. And
it's just a weird signing. It's a weird signing.
And at a position again, like I saw Branham, one of the Houston radio guys, was like when they posted his thing on Twitter that they signed him, he was like, "Can he play left guard?" it's like so again, you sign a player at a position where you arguably, if everybody's healthy, you don't need them. Instead of going out and signing there may not be any left guards really out there to sign right now. At this point in the offseason, you kind of missed out on all the cream of the crop. But the point is like, this is another one of those the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade. Another one of those things where you're like, cool, it's a cool toy to have in the toolbox, but like, did I need it? Is that gonna help? Is that gonna help us, get to a Super Bowl? Is that gonna help? Because C.J. Gardner-Johnson was talking a lot of shit on his earlier on Twitter and stuff, talking about how he's gonna get a Super Bowl this year. Talking about how he's probably gonna get 3 more.
He said we're gonna put a bull on that ring.
Put a bull on that ring. I think I'm gonna turn that into a hashtag.
Yeah, that's what we need. Hashtag bull on that ring.
Put a bull on that ring. Wait a minute.
Is that a pause? It feels like a pause.
It feels like it should be, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know
if it is.
But yeah, I'm here for it. Let's get into what else we got. Let's get into your little spat.
Oh yeah, so
get into it.
So today I woke up this morning and I chose violence. Um, I saw On3 posted a picture of the Oklahoma schedule and basically said Oklahoma wins how many games. I said, not even kidding, 3-5. Now here I'm gonna go find so we can walk through.
Some of those comments. You caught hell for it. I know that.
I did listen. I did. People were not happy with me. They were not happy pappies. I'll tell you that. I will tell you that. Let me go. So, okay. Here is the schedule that they
Here, I got you. They go. Oh, are you putting it up?
yeah, I got it right here.
All right. I kind of want to walk through this a little bit because we have various opinions on this one. And so you realistically said 3-5. Now I don't know if you're as hot as you were whenever we were talking about this earlier,
Yeah.
but you were pretty warm bath water. When you get in that shower and you need to take a minute, that's what you were.
Yeah, that's
Obviously, I think they beat Illinois State to open up the season. Here's my take. Let me give my take first.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I had them going 5-0 going into Texas. Ethan had them. What did you have?
I had them going 3-2 going into Texas, losing to Michigan and Auburn.
Let's talk about that.
Okay. So here's the thing. So I think I don't believe in their defense. I don't believe in their head coach as a defensive play caller. I think he's been exposed in his first couple seasons there because Oklahoma had a pretty solid defense when he got there. And there was a lot of hype coming out of Oklahoma last offseason. A lot of they're going to win, they're going to be in the top of this, a lot of just hubbub about Oklahoma. Jackson Arnold and Jackson Arnold's going to be a Heisman favorite and all these things. And we're hearing a lot of those same things this offseason. Now, granted, they get David Stone to withdraw from the transfer portal, so that's a major cornerstone of that defense. Admittedly, they've done pretty well in the transfer portal. I don't know if they've done I don't believe they've done so great recruiting. I don't know if they've done so great in the development of the players they have recruited. Michigan going into, now granted they get Michigan at home. So that may change things a little bit. But I think that Michigan is just a different breed of team than what they're going to be prepared for in week 2. This is going to be week 2 of John Mateer. It's not like, you could say, I get it, John Mateer, maybe he's a good quarterback. Maybe he did a lot of good things at Washington State. Maybe. A lot of maybes there. But And I'll give you that Michigan starting a Bryce Underwood, who's going to be a freshman, who we don't have any idea what he's going to be. But I believe that the pedigree and the team that Michigan has put together is going to be, because Oklahoma is shopping at like Dollar General for their players right now. The thing on Twitter is Broklahoma. Okay, so like. This isn't a team that's going out and nabbing top players. This isn't a team that's recruiting at the top of their league. This isn't a team that's, been, otherworldly in their development. This isn't a team that showed a lot of life last year. It's just not. This is the same team that went 6-6 last year with this almost exact same schedule. So for me to believe that they're all of a sudden going to go out and win, 9-10 games, I just can't buy into that. So you're talking about going a Michigan team, fine. Okay, so I think they lose to they go.
Okay, so give me your breakdown against Auburn. Why you think they lose to Auburn?
Jackson Auto revenge game. No, I'm playing.
Okay.
I'm playing. So here's the thing. So I thought it was really funny that they were arguing 3, but they wouldn't argue 5. If you go read the comments, everybody only focused on the 3. They didn't want to talk about the 5. So let's say you do start this season 5-0. Let's say you do beat Michigan. Let's say you do beat Auburn. That's still just 5. I don't know if there's a game on the back half of the schedule they win.
Well,
If you really
Missouri,
the
Tennessee, Ole Miss, those are winnable.
are they?
Yeah.
I don't
Let
know
me
if I
explain
believe.
to you this. I think the Oklahoma Sooners defense is nothing to sneeze at. I know you as what do you say? You walked him out of the yard or something like
Oh,
that?
yeah, I mean, we dog walked them. I mean,
Yeah,
we might, we did them dirty. Okay, it wasn't even, it was bad. It was bad.
sure.
This is the same Oklahoma team that we scored damn near 70 points on. Like this isn't,
And
you
I
know,
think that's where your opinion is forming
yeah,
at is the
I'll,
fact that
sure, yeah.
you guys did that to them. But I don't think Michigan has the offensive firepower still to do that to them. And I think Michigan and Oklahoma are very similar teams in the aspect of how they like to run their program, which is very defensive minded. Defense wins championship kind. Like they both have really good defenses. I believe that Mateer probably, even though he might not be better overall or in the long run than Bryce, I think he's more experienced going into that game because
What?
that's also Bryce's
Okay,
second
okay.
game.
Let's look at.
Wait on it.
Go ahead.
Can
No,
you
go
let
ahead.
no
Go
wait
ahead.
on it.
I'm
Wait
waiting
on it.
on it.
So I got them. Okay, I'm not gonna say I got them beating Michigan, but I could see a world where they do beat Michigan. I'm not against them beating Michigan. Auburn, not high on Auburn at all. Everybody else in the world seems to be high on Auburn. I'll never be high on Auburn. So I think they absolutely 72-0. I think Auburn probably loses. Oh, they go 0-12, probably lose all their games, maybe by 100 points apiece. And I wouldn't be surprised even a little bit. Obviously, they beat Illinois, Temple, Kent State. Now going into Texas, we have a conversation. They're like, I'm not saying they're going to beat Texas, but there is definitely a conversation that could be had.
His best game. Here's what. Okay, are you done talking about Mateer? Because I have something to
I
say about
want to say
Mateer.
one more thing about Mateer. John Mateer, allegedly, from reports that I did a little bit of research on because I don't keep up with Oklahoma that much, off of the little bit of research that I had, he's allegedly from insider sources. He has adapted well to this new offensive scheme better than Jackson Arnold did just last year. A lot of people are saying he looks a lot better. He seems to understand the scheme and what they got going on offensively better. And I think they did get better offensively. So I don't think we've already talked about this. I don't think Oklahoma's only relying on defense. I think their offense might be a little bit more explosive than they were last year, which might cause some headaches for some teams.
Okay, this is the same guy. This is the same guy that struggled against Wyoming. That struggled against that. I mean, not struggled against New Mexico. But I mean, he went for almost 4 bills against New Mexico, which is great. But you still lost. You weren't able to put your team in a position to win. I mean, and then you lose to Boise State. So I mean, he's it's just Texas Tech. He goes 9 for 19 for 115 yards. Like the teams he played well against were not that great teams to begin with. So like, how is it if John Mateer was still at Washington State University, we wouldn't even be having this discussion about him. It's literally it's the fact that he's on a team that's getting more publicity. But it's not because he's good.
I'll say this though.
He
I
wasn't
will. I
even
can. Let me play. Let me play a little devil's advocate here. John Mateer also was in a bit better situation than he was
Is
at
he? Is
Washington.
he?
Yeah, the team
How
around
do we
him's
know that?
way better.
No, we
You're
don't
going to sit
know
here and
that.
tell me that,
The offense is not. The offense is probably. You're talking about an injury-prone Jaden Ott who barely played last year to begin with. So like, is the team that much better around him?
I think the defense around him is better.
They lose the number one receiver they brought in the transfer portal to an ACL injury, so they already don't have their top receiver to come back next year, to play next
So
year.
you're that low on Mateer.
I just don't. He could be good. I'm not saying but I'm saying there's nothing that I have seen that gives me the idea that he's all of a sudden gonna light the world on fire.
If he's even a top 8 quarterback in the SEC, OU wins more games than a lot of people think because they are a tough team. Now, we obviously have two different viewpoints on Oklahoma because you guys walked them out of the yard and we got embarrassed by them. So my viewpoint on Oklahoma is they're a gritty team, defensively really good, and honestly, if their offense probably was a little bit better, Maybe that game wouldn't have been as close as it was, which it wasn't. We kind of got dog walked by Oklahoma. So if they can, here's the thing: if they could do what they did to us against Michigan, they win that game, or against Auburn, they win that game. I think OU versus Texas is a little different. There's a lot of hatred going on there, but I could see them doing that to Ole Miss. I could see them doing that to Missouri. I'm not going to say I can see them doing it to Alabama. I think Alabama, dog
I
walks them,
think
especially that late in the season.
I think at okay, maybe it was a little rage baiting in 3 to 5, admittedly, but their ceiling is probably 7 wins because
Let's do a little unit as a unit. Let's do a little prediction on Oklahoma's schedule. Here's what we got: Oklahoma's 2025 schedule. I got week 1 Illinois State win. What do you got?
Win.
Okay, week 2 I got a win.
For the sake of the argument, I'll say they beat Michigan. Okay, fine. They
Okay.
beat Michigan.
Actually, you know what? I'll give them a loss. Let's go loss on Michigan because I think they will beat Auburn.
Okay.
So
Actually,
I'll give them
Okay.
I'll give them 4-1 going into Texas.
I think they have more of a chance of beating Auburn than Michigan.
I agree.
So I think they're
4-1. 4-1 going into Texas.
4-1 going into Texas. One of those, I think they lose one of those. That's
Sure.
kind of my point.
Could be 5-0. Could be 3-2.
But
Texas, I think they lose.
Yeah.
I think they lose to Texas. I think they lose to South Carolina. So for the sake of the argument, they're 4-3 now. I think they take one back against Ole Miss.
So 5-3.
They could beat Tennessee.
Tennessee. I think Tennessee is going to be really good defensively.
That doesn't matter. They don't have an offense.
We don't know that yet. Joey Aguilar is in the. I view John Mateer the same way I view Joey Aguilar.
As good, that team is as good as their quarterback. That's what I believe for Tennessee, and I'm going to give Oklahoma the win against Tennessee.
Okay.
I'll put them at 7-3.
All right, so Illinois State win.
4-1 going into Texas. 4-3 going into Ole Miss.
So 4-2.
4-3 to Ole Miss, and then Ole Miss 5-3, 6-3, 6-4,
7-4,
7-4,
7-5.
7-5 ceiling. Easy as peasy.
7-5. That's what 7-5 ceiling.
Easy as peasy. They could drop all of these games.
they could also. That's what I'm saying is like they could drop Michigan. They could drop Auburn. They could drop Ole Miss. They could drop Tennessee, and they could. I'll give them Missouri. I'll give them Missouri regardless. I think they beat Missouri.
I think they can handle Ole Miss. Well, shit. Man, I don't know because Ole Miss is a question mark as a team, depending on how good Austin Simmons is. And,
right.
Lane Kiffin's not a bad head coach, so their offense is going to be good.
Good, yeah.
Eventually.
It's a quarterback-friendly system. And by that point in the season, they should be humming.
So maybe Ole Miss beats them. Maybe Tennessee beats them. But
the crazy part is we're sitting here quibbling about 6-6 and 7-5, and OU has the audacity to get in my mentions.
Well, you came out there and said 3 to 5 wins. I think we counted out at least 6.
I said it was rage baiting, but still, we're talking about 6-6 and 7-5, and they have the audacity to poke their chest out like that's something to be happy about.
Okay, let's do a better take then. Will Oklahoma be a double-digit win team?
Absolutely
Probably not.
Absolutely
Probably not. Unless some crazy.
Unless John Mateer starts wiping his nuts on people. But.
Yeah, unless he's really something like that, something serious, I don't see them being a double-digit win team.
I don't think John Mateer has the ability to just carry this team. I don't.
Would they go last year? Did they win 6 games last year?
They went 6-6 last year with almost the exact same schedule.
I would like to say that this is a tough schedule, bro. This is a very tough schedule.
That's what plays into the take, though. I'm not saying it is a tough schedule. I agree that it's a tough schedule. But I don't know. That's the point. It's a tough schedule, so I don't think they win 6 games.
Yeah. I think they. I don't think that. But here's my problem with that. I don't think they're a worse team than they were last year.
I don't think they're that.
They're better. They're better than they were last year.
So is Texas. So is South Carolina.
But Ole
So is
Miss isn't as good
Alabama.
as Ole Miss isn't
So
as
is
good.
LSU.
Tennessee isn't as good. Missouri isn't as good.
But
Auburn
Tennessee.
and Michigan
Hold on,
up for
hold on, hold on,
debate
hold on, hold on,
still.
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Nico Nico wasn't that great for Tennessee anyway. So if Joey Aguilar is just as good as Nico was last year, or if Merklinger comes in for Tennessee and is just as good as Nico, then they are just the same team they were last year. Which
Okay, let's be real. Can we be real? Let's be real here. Tennessee was not supposed to be a playoff team last year.
I didn't say that. I didn't say they were supposed to be a playoff team last year. But I'm saying
I think they Tennessee got a couple of good ones on people, but I don't think Tennessee was a. I don't like Tennessee, so this is going to sound very biased no matter what. But I don't think Tennessee was a good enough team to make the playoffs last year. Now, obviously,
they
they
were
were because they were there, but they got embarrassed in the playoffs. So they obviously weren't that good.
I hear you, but I if Joey Aguilar or Merklinger can play, because this is what this is what was
You're
so
not
crazy.
going to sit here. Go ahead.
This is what's so crazy to me about about like the Nico situation, because Nico wasn't that great anyway. Oh,
Brother, you're not going to sit here and tell me that Nico isn't better than Merklinger or what's his name that I literally just forgot right now.
Aguilar.
Yeah, you're not going to sit here and tell me Nico's not better than those guys. Don't do it because don't do it because you know it's wrong. You know it's wrong. You know you're wrong. If
But
you
I'm
got the
saying,
choice to pick
why
one,
is Nico getting
goddamn chairs.
why is he getting like so much benefit of the doubt? Like because he was a highly rated recruit? Is that it?
Hey, you're treading on iffy waters right here, thin ice, because you don't want to do the whole highly touted recruit doesn't equal
Hold on.
good situation.
1, 2, 3, 4. Nico went over 200 yards 4 times last year. Against Vanderbilt, UTEP, Kentucky, and North Carolina State University.
I told you they weren't that good. He was also a freshman.
That's okay.
So
That doesn't mean that exactly. So that means he gets all this.
I'm not arguing
He
for Nico.
definitely ain't worth.
Wait, I'm not arguing for Nico, by the way. Mind you, I'm not on Team Nico over here. I'm just saying you're not going to sit here and tell me he's not better than those guys. That
He did nothing to prove that to me.
man, I think he did though. I
How?
think it's crazy to say that Tennessee's quarterback position is better than they were last year.
I'm not saying that they're. I'm saying that I don't think. I'm saying that they could be, even if they're. I'm saying that Nico last year wasn't that good to begin with. So
I don't disagree.
it's not crazy to think that the combination of Joey Aguilar or Merklinger could be just as good.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. Not high on Tennessee. I'm higher on Ole Miss than I am Tennessee.
Oh,
I'm just not buying it. I'm just
That's
not buying
fair.
it.
That's fair. That's fine. But I don't think. I just don't know if I believe in the. I don't know. This is a. We're in the. This is clearly a. We need football back conversation.
Yeah.
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 Because ultimately the way Nico left and all that, because Nico definitely ain't worth the $4 million he's getting at UCLA for sure.
No.
For sure.
For sure.
So like
For sure, definitely not.
So I don't think it's so crazy to say that Tennessee Nico probably did Tennessee a favor, because if they would have paid him that, it would have. Now again, this is all hypothetical, because he could go out at UCLA, but I want to see what UCLA's schedule is next year, and let's see how we feel about
Pull it up on the big board, please.
I'm gonna pull it up on the big board, baby. I'm gonna pull it up on the big board. Okay. Let's see. Is this it? Okay. I don't. That's not.
Pull it up on the biggie board for me.
I'm trying to find it in a way that's easy to look at. Okay. Let me just make sure that this is the right one because I don't want to post the wrong one. December 11th, 2024. That would be for this next year if it was posted. Yeah, 2025. Okay. All right. Is that it? Okay. No, let me take this
Man,
down.
you got to get better with your
Hey, man.
speed.
There we go. Okay. Okay. So, Utah, UNLV, New Mexico, Northwestern, Penn State, Michigan State, Maryland, Indiana, Nebraska, Ohio State, Washington, and USC. Okay. Penn State,
That's a tough
Ohio
schedule
State.
too. That's a sneakily tough schedule.
Yeah, Penn State, Ohio State, and USC. Now, Utah probably is going to be pretty good. Indiana is going to be that gritty team. They're going to want to prove everybody wrong and think that they, that they deserve to be there last year. So they're going to come out playing well, I would argue. Nebraska, I'm kind of high on Nebraska this year. I think that they kind of found something, with Raiola. So I think that's going to be a sneakily tough game for UCLA. So how do you think Nico fares on this type of schedule in comparison to Joey Aguilar and Merklinger and their schedule?
Okay, well, first and foremost, I'm just not high on UCLA in general as a football team. Outside of Nico, I'm not high on them. I don't think they have anybody that's super like moves the needle, in my opinion. Um, there's winnable games. I think they lose Ohio State for sure, Penn State probably for sure. You know, Utah's
So if he goes
decent.
out, if he goes out on this schedule and has, let's say he goes for about the same as he did last year, and Joey Aguilar goes out and does the same
This
thing.
is giving me very much Carson Beck. I think a bad quarterback going to play an easier schedule. I think he'll look
That's
better
true.
on paper,
That
probably
might be
over
true.
here.
That might be true.
But I don't think that makes him better.
Because I think UNLV, New Mexico, Northwestern, Maryland, Michigan State. Because Washington might be a difficult game too.
Yeah.
So like, I could see like a 5 or 6 win season here.
I think they probably lose to Utah,
Probably
beat UNLV, beat New Mexico, beat Northwestern. So that's what
1,
3-1. Lose to
3-2.
Penn State. Michigan State's buns, so they'll probably lose that game. I mean, win that game, beat Maryland, lose to Indiana. If Indiana is as apparently Indiana's real hyped up too. Everybody's on the
Yeah.
Indiana train. So
Again,
let's give it to them.
yeah, these are like the Indianas of the world is definitely they're riding off. They're gonna ride off the coattails of last year until they don't.
Indiana is like so much like Oklahoma.
Yeah, yeah.
um, it's like Big Ten's Oklahoma or whatever conference that they play in. Nebraska, meh. I don't know. I wasn't big on Raiola last year. I'm not big on him this year either. I think he's good, but I don't know. Man, I could see them probably losing 2, 3, 5 games, 4 or 5 games. Just without doing a super in depth anything, I think they could probably lose about 4 games, 5 games on a high end, 3 on the low.
Admittedly, Dylan Raiola didn't have the greatest year last year statistically. but but they they ended the year. They started the year what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 1, and then they ended the year 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 5. So like they came out really hot, and then it just fell off from there.
That is
Now
how
the
college
Illinois,
football goes.
yeah, yeah. I mean like that, like Indiana put a like they played better against. He played. Uh, I don't know. I think Rayola has a lot of talent, and I'm higher on Rayola than I'm higher on Rayola than I am on Nico, to be honest.
You're high on who then what? I had my headphones off for that bullshit.
I'm higher on Rayola than I am on Nico.
I think everybody hates Nico because of what he did to Tennessee. I think that plays a part in it. I think everybody wants to hate Nico, but at the end of the day, if Nico was on your team still, if he was still at Tennessee, or if he was at Alabama, or if he was at backing up Arch at Texas, everybody, I'll tell you this: as much as everybody hates Nico, they wouldn't not want him on their team.
That's somebody's cooking. I think my girlfriend might be cooking some din din. No, but I agree. I maybe you're right. Maybe there's definitely a little. I think there's a little sports integrity like college football integrity bias
For sure.
in in day to day college football fans when it comes to Nico. I can give you that. I'll give you that. That's probably a fair point. That's probably a fair point. But maybe I think maybe like you said earlier, I think he probably plays better against this schedule, and he kind of hoodwinks all of us.
Yeah. And I think realistically speaking, like the SEC is not rookie freshman quarterback friendly.
Right.
Regardless, like DJ Lagway got tore up, played
Which
good,
is
but he
what?
got
Yeah.
ended up getting hurt. I don't forget who else, but I mean Manziel, shit, he tore up the SEC his freshman year, but he was an anomaly. He's probably one of the greatest college football quarterback of all time. So, um, it's just not easy to like to just start your career in the SEC, and a lot of guys freshmen, not just quarterbacks, but a lot of guys think that that's where they need to go as freshmen. I need to be in the SEC so I can iron sharpens iron and work with those guys and da 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 da. But I realistically think this is a good move for Nico. Outside of him just wanting the bag, I think moving to a smaller market. I mean, UCL is a big market team, but they're not super high expectations. Not going to be on that big screen. And who's to say he doesn't, play at UCLA for 2 years, wants to come back, play for, I don't know, a bigger school, lights up the
The way,
world, maybe
yeah, I
wins a
mean,
Heisman?
the the way that I mean that's a fair point. The way that college football is kind of going, he could be there for a year or two. You were very right when you said that it's giving you because I think Carson Beck's probably going to have a pretty good year in the ACC.
So do I.
But and I think people are going to be like, oh, he was we told you he was good and yada yada yada. It was like, you know, if you would have had that, the college football has turned into a Big Ten versus SEC situation. Now the Big Ten has won the last two national championships. Now we can sit here and talk about how badass the SEC is, but the hype goes where the championships go, and the championships
Sure.
have gone to the Big Ten. So
Sure.
if he goes to if he would have transferred to I don't know. I was gonna say like if he would have ended up at like at Ohio State, because
Yeah,
Ohio
he
State
would.
had no, but I'm saying because it'd be like Will Howard, like when Will Howard went to Ohio State.
Sure. Sure.
You know, because Will Howard really wasn't that great in the Big 12. He was average. He was pretty good, but he wasn't like a set the world on fire. And then he goes to Ohio State. They win a national championship, and then he goes and gets drafted, and now so like there's because he was in that conference and they go and win a national championship. And you play with a Jeremiah Smith, you play with Emeka Egbuka, you play with a G. Scott, you play with the Travion Henderson, you play with all those guys. You're gonna look better
Yeah.
in that kind of offense too.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
And I think there's less pressure on Carson Beck at Miami. I think Carson Beck will probably look statistically really good at least. And the competition, let's be real, is not great in the ACC. Um, So yeah, him and Nico are very much in the same position as far as like former SEC quarterbacks. Lots of expectations on them. Came from pretty big. I mean, every SEC team is a decently sized name or brand in college football. So you
Right.
move from that to UCLA and Miami and go out there and
I
ball
think
out. I
right.
think I think this is a good move for Nico if he wants to get drafted or like just
Yeah.
keep your head down for a little bit, especially after this bullshit that just happened with Tennessee. Go to UCLA, keep your head down, ball out. People forget about it in a year or two.
Right. If you're good at, if you can ball, the NFL will draft you.
Yeah.
That's kind of been the
And a lot of people were talking about after the Tennessee thing, Nico's not getting drafted. Doubt it, unless he really shits the bed.
yeah.
Uh, but I doubt it because NFL players do that same bullshit all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the NFL has. I mean, the NFL has told us they don't really care. They don't really care about the transfer portal. They don't really care about players getting paid. They just want the NFL is so winning mindset based that they don't really. As long as you can come in and contribute and help us win games, I don't give a fuck about what you did in college.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I mean,
that
fucking
doesn't matter at all.
Laramie Tunsil had a damn video of him smoking out a bong on draft night, and still is in All Pro left tackle and is still getting paid millions and millions of dollars. They don't care. Ray Lewis committed murder and is in the Hall of Fame. Like,
Deshaun Watson gets paid $234 million. Now that wasn't in college, but still,
they don't care. They don't give a
Henry
fuck.
Ruggs. Henry Ruggs, when he gets out of prison, he
Somebody's
might
gonna
get
pay him.
he might get a shot at the NFL.
They
They don't care, brother.
They don't. Ben Roethlisberger has a history and is gonna be a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Michael Vick went to prison, got out of prison, right back in the NFL.
They don't care. So
Like, they don't care what you just did.
So for people to be like, oh, he did this in college, the NFL's not going to want him. Bullshit. If he goes out and balls and he can show that he can lead a team to victory, they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. He'll be.
So,
And honestly, I'm not calling that he'll be in the NFL, but if he goes out there and winning seasons at most at UCLA, I could see him being like DTR.
yeah. That's probably because I think DTR, if he would have played at any other school, probably would have had a better career.
Yeah, I agree.
So if you know if Nico can go out there and crunch out 9 or 10 wins,
Or 8,
2
like
years
like 7 to 8, 7 to 9.
and 7 to 9 wins, but he's playing well, he'll be fine.
He'll get that call. He'll get that call all day long.
All day long. Because ultimately, I might not be high on him, but he does have a lot of characteristics that make him intriguing as a prospect. That's
Dude, he's like 8 feet tall.
yeah. He's 8. You know, he's got not. You know, I could see him being drafted at a position, regardless of what happened in college.
Sure, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Really, I think I just wanted to get into. Let's see if I can find it. I was a little bit late today, so I didn't get to. Let me go to my bookmarks real fast. I hope I did it. I hope I bookmarked it. Damn it. Well, I wanted to get into the house settlement. That just got passed the other day. Let's see if I can find the thread real quick. I'm looking at the Ross Dellinger. Works for, can't remember who he works for, but he put together a pretty solid thread regarding the. Here we go. So here's how. So basically, it has become official that schools are allowed to pay players directly. There's a lot that comes into that. You know, first thing, kind of the 3 main points that Ross kind of pointed out was that there's 2.8 billion in back pay to ex-athletes. I think they said that it starts in like goes back to like 2016, I think, or something like that. So basically, there's going to be a way for players to apply to get money and back pay from the NCAA. I think that's pretty solid. Honestly, I'm in with that. The ability, for players to, because it kind of sucks if you just came along late in the process.
Right.
You just didn't get a bite of the apple.
Yeah. Now you get a little bit of a little bag. You get a little
A
bag.
little
off of
bag,
that.
a little bag, because a lot of them are insurance salesmen now.
Yeah.
Another thing, 20 billion plus in rev share to future athletes. So basically, the NCAA now has to fork up $20 billion plus a year in revenue.
A year
share.
per
Not
year.
I don't know if it's per year.
I was gonna say, do
Let's
they
see.
even make that much
All
per
right,
year?
schools must stay under an annual cap determined through the P4 revenue data. The
Oh,
average
that's
of
a
the
win.
So the first year, so this year is 20.5 million per school, with escalators to as high as 33 million by 2035. So it's basically saying it's every year it'll go up in what's the word,
Increments.
increments, um, kind of with how like the NFL does it essentially. Every year the cap gets a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher. The rev share starts on July 1st. So basically, schools can start cutting deals out. Now, schools have already, in some of the reporting I've seen, have already cut deals. They were just kind of waiting on the House settlement to kind of just put them in place. Schools can now distribute at their own discretion. So not every school is going to do the same. Not every school is going to have the same amount. Now, but with that being said, most schools plan to use the let's see. Most schools plan to use back pay formula for distribution: 75 to 85% for football, 10 to 15 for men's basketball, and 10 to 15 for other schools. Let's see. What else. I'm trying to just kind of skim through this, see if there's anything extra. Let's see. I guess I can share this, and you can kind of see kind of what he was saying here. Oh, one of the bigger things is the scholarship limits across all sports. Football was at 85, and now it goes up to 105. Basketball goes from 13 to 15. Baseball, though, goes from 11.7 to 34. So that's a huge. You're going to see, which kind of means a lot of these teams are going to be able to take flyers on guys. You're going to see, kickers getting scholarships, things along those lines. Which I think going from now what's gonna happen is you're gonna have schools that don't have the full 105, and so you're gonna have a lot of arguments about, oh, it's 105 versus 87, and it's like, well, your school probably should have just had more scholarship players and paid the people. I don't know what to tell you. Let's see. All right, that's kind of all the main points. Basically, that these schools are allowed to start paying these players out of pocket. They don't have to worry about. There's a point in time where you couldn't buy a player a pizza without committing a recruiting violation.
Right.
So
now we're up. Yeah, that I haven't seen that, so I'm probably gonna have to look into that before I can start talking about it. But it sounds like not that bad, actually.
Yeah,
it sounds pretty interesting, and I like that there's a cap. So
Well, that's the thing. So it's there. So these schools have a lot of these schools have what's the word companies, not companies, but
like back doors.
kind of where like they like the NIL side of things, they raise the money from donors, and then so a lot of these schools, this 20.5 million is on top of
Oh, so this is an extra 20 million.
an extra 20.5 million that they can use.
Ooh.
So like Texas and Ohio State, those two schools, they're already paying probably 25 to 35 on the high end million on their roster. So now they can go up 45, 55. Now it's going to be now it can be
crazy
distributed
because there's some quarterbacks in the NFL who make more than that in one year.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
And you got to build a whole roster with that.
I mean, it's college is different, so I mean,
yeah, it
a lot
is
of these,
different. I mean,
they're getting like
not a lot
3.5.
of bona fides.
Right,
Yeah.
they're getting a lot of 3.5 million, 2.5 million, 5.5 million.
Boy, imagine what you would do with 3.5 million, though. It's a lot of money for an 18-year-old.
That is a lot of money.
If I was 18, 19, 20 years old with $3 million in the bank, it's a bad day. It's a bad day to be somebody's grandma.
It makes it a lot harder to go to class. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, for sure.
What am I going to class for, man? I'm good for good. I don't need no. What do I need to go to biology 1? What do I need to do that for?
Right. I think that's interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that. I didn't know.
Yeah,
about that.
look. Yeah, I think we could really have a whole episode on that because, there's a lot of intricacies about it. The back. I didn't know about the back pay until I saw that. I didn't know that there was a whole other pool of money that they could dip into for other players. Because think about like I can't remember when he played. It might have been before 2016, but Sean Oakman. Do you remember? Does that name ring a bell?
Mm-hmm. Big Sean Oakman.
Big Sean. Yeah, that video, that one picture everybody saw where he's just. You know what I mean? Think about those guys. The RG3s of the world. Those types of guys where they just now. Listen, everybody knows.
Those guys were getting paid.
They were getting paid.
Those guys were getting paid.
So if I'm one of those guys, I'm like, shit, I get the double dip from 10 years ago. Shit,
Yeah.
run.
I bet. I wonder how much it's gonna be though. Like guys like Sean Oakman or Greg McElroy or things like that. I kind of wonder what it's gonna like. Blake Sims from Alabama specifically kind of is interesting because he was kind of a in and out kind of quarterback for us in that time frame. So.
Right,
do NFL players also get to dip into this pool?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's literally just. That's a good point. That's a good question actually, because, like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, does he get to dip into that? Tua, Jalen Hurts,
and how much do they get compared to Johnny Manziel, who's not in the league anymore, but was really good in college? Now we all know Johnny was getting paid.
But Johnny's like the damn Apollo 11 of NIL. He was the first one who was everybody saw that and was like, why is he not getting paid? Why is he not getting paid? Now that we're talking about this, why not?
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean that's all. I mean before we say anything dumb, having to do some research on it. Was there anything kind of specific before we wrap this up that you wanted to get into today?
No, I'm on a little bit of time crunch, so if you want to wrap it up, we can wrap it up.
You need to get out of here? All right, man. Well,
yeah,
make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. I'm sure we'll piss some more Sooners off tomorrow, and I guess y'all have a good rest of y'all's evening. Later.
I ain't with that beefing on the neck. Tell me what's next. I can't listen to the hype. Wanna know that you've been mixed with lies. Love you like your favorite cocktail.